Hi and welcome to my channel. I am so glad that you're here because it's October. Somehow, some way, fall is upon us, and that means it's time for a September reading recap. And this was a super fun reading month for me because I actually discovered audiobooks for the first time, which, hello, I know that I'm way behind the times, but I took a long road trip to go to my brother's wedding and needed some entertainment because I have been making that drive home way too many times. Not too many times. It's been good. It's been good to spend time with family, but after a while, a 9-hour road trip catches up with you and you need a change of pace. Music can only do so much for you. So anyway, I'm rambling. Let's get into what I read this month. Leave a comment below with your favorite read for the month. I would love to hear your favorite book of September. Maybe I'll pick it up next month and talk about it at the end of October. So that would be super fun. Sorry, my dog is sniffing around. So the first book that I read in September was Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. And this book I did not realize was the first book in the Part of Your World series. I read Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez first and really loved it. I believe I gave it 5 stars. And then my mom read this one, told me it was her favorite book of 2023 and that it was the first book in the series. So she gave it to me for Christmas and naturally I'm just now reading it, but I'm glad that I finally did. It is about Alexis and Daniel. Alexis is an ER doctor from the city and she comes from a legacy of surgeons and has this legacy to live up to. And she meets Daniel, who is 10 years younger than her, and he is from a small town. He is a carpenter by trade. He's like running his family's in bed and breakfast type situation. They meet, have a fling, and the rest ensues. It's kind of like there's a social divide and different struggles that they're dealing with throughout their relationship. So I really enjoyed this book. I think I connected with the characters in Yours Truly more. The male main character in that book had anxiety and I just loved the representation and like how Abby Jimenez explained his anxiety. I felt like really connected with him, and so that resonated with me a little bit more. I also don't enjoy books as much where the relationship starts out as physical. And I will say it didn't last as only physical for very long, but I just think like that being more of the focus, I didn't love it as much. There was an aspect of a teeny tiny aspect of magical realism in this book, which I've come to learn about myself I really like. So I enjoyed that part of it. But overall, I gave the book 4 stars. Highly recommend. It just wasn't quite a 5-star like Yours Truly was for me, but very good. Then the next book that I read is quite funny. I mean, it's not really funny. It's a funny story, but the book's not funny. It is Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I read Fourth Wing last year and was absolutely obsessed. And then, wait, I grabbed Fourth Wing. I didn't read Fourth Wing. I read Iron Flame. Just a second. I'm a hot mess, y'all. I read Iron Flame, which is the second book in the Empyrean series. First book is Fourth Wing. And so I read Fourth Wing last year, was obsessed with it, and could not wait for Iron Flame to come out. I think it came out last October. Got it right away. And then I was in a funk. I was in a real funk. and I started to hear people's reviews on the book. I started to hear that it was too focused on the war, that they didn't like it as much as Fourth Wing. And I just think like the emphasis on the war concerned me a little bit because I didn't want to read about like heavier, darker topics at the time. And I know there's like a ton of trigger warnings for Fourth Wing too, but Fourth Wing, it didn't bother me at all. I didn't feel triggered, I didn't feel uneasy, and I'm definitely somebody that feels uneasy by some of that darker stuff more. So you would think I would have, but I didn't. And I don't know why I let all this commentary about Iron Flame get to me, but it was truly just like the headspace I was in. So I didn't read the dang thing until a year after it was released, which is wild. But I read it and I am obsessed. I thought it was the perfect second book. All in all, like 5,000 stars for me. It's just a fast-paced, really fun, really engaging series in my opinion. And I'm not a big fantasy reader, so this is like just me dabbling my toes in fantasy. And so maybe if you're more into fantasy, it's not anything like earth-shattering to you, but I think it's a perfect bridge between, you know, romance and fantasy. It's like, as far as a romantasy book is concerned, I think it's super accessible to get started, and I just loved it. I literally loved it. Okay, next up, I can't show you the book because this is where I started to dive into audiobooks, but I read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore. It was definitely fall vibes. Definitely, I know it's been compared to Gilmore Girls a lot, and I can see why it does get compared to Gilmore Girls. But it wasn't to the point where I felt like I was reading a Gilmore Girls fanfic. It just was like very much inspired by small town, cafe, coffee shop, grumpy guy who doesn't want to be involved in the town, girl who's really excited to be involved in the town, and like those types of things. But it didn't feel too similar to Gilmore Girls for me. But if you like Gilmore Girls, you may like this book. It's very fall aesthetic, very just like puts you in that ambiance and that type of feeling. I personally felt like there wasn't a ton happening in this book. And I actually felt that the fear, or like kind of the baggage that Logan, the main male character, had was kind of like redundant and really repetitive. So all that to say, this wasn't my favorite book, but it kept me entertained on my drive, so it did what it needed to do. It just was not earth-shattering by any means. And I'm not actually 100% sure why it's been so hyped up. Maybe it's for the spice, because it definitely got spicy, but I learned that I did not like hearing that narrated to me in the car or probably anywhere, and so I skipped ahead on those scenes and I didn't hear it, I didn't read it, so I cannot comment on it. But I will say it's open door, and in my head that's like the only reason I can think that this book went so viral on TikTok. But I'm not on TikTok, so if somebody please tell me why this book got so hyped and is blowing up. So yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. I would rate it like a 3, and it's almost kind of like a reluctant 3. I almost want to give it lower, but it wasn't bad. It just was like not out of this world. So anyway, on my drive home from my brother's wedding, I listened to Pumpkin Spice and Not So Nice by Becky Monson. This is another lighthearted, fluffy romance, kind of Hallmark-esque vibes. It's closed door, so that is a difference between Pumpkin Spice Cafe and this one. There's no spice in it at all. It follows Jenna and Aiden, and Jenna works at her family's pumpkin patch, like on the weekends, and she has a history of dating emotionally unavailable men. She finds a $50 bill that has writing on it in the Pumpkin Patch's donation jar because their barn built down and they're collecting donations to rebuild it. And she finds this $50 bill, finds writing on it, and starts hunting down this guy who the bill is from. She doesn't know it's a guy, but she's trying to find the owner of the $50 because she thinks it might be sentimental. Spoiler, it belongs to, and this is not actually a spoiler, it says it on the back of the book, it belongs to Aiden St. Clair. He's emotionally unavailable, he's attractive, he's grumpy. I thought it was a bit odd, this whole $50 bill concept. I'm not sure I would have had the same reaction to Jenna to hunt down the owner of this $50 bill. I'm not sure how realistic it is that she would find the owner of this $50 bill. So that was a little bit cheesy and a bit far-fetched. But if you just take it at face value, again, it was entertaining. It kept me engaged. I actually liked the aspect of like her history of dating emotionally unavailable men and kind of the growth, personal growth and like self-awareness you see from her throughout the book. So I liked this one, I would say, a bit more than the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. It had a bit more meat to it, just as far as like morals or themes. And also I think the pacing, I felt like there was more happening, even though, I mean, it's not action-packed because it is like a lighthearted, fluffy read. It's supposed to be. So maybe I'd rate it like a 3.25. I think that for what it is, it does it well. So all in all, I would say September was a very fun reading month. I found a new 5-star read, a new favorite book for sure, and I found some fall vibe aesthetic type books to get me in the mood for this new season. And I read a book that was recommended by a family member, a book that they loved. And so it was really a fun month, and I'm looking forward to seeing what October has in store. If you have any books that you think I should read in October, any books that you've been loving and want to share, please put them in the comments down below. It would be fun to read what you've been loving lately as well. And yeah, stick around for some more book videos. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. I'll be around more often than I have been. Thanks for taking this time with me. It's been a pleasure, and I hope you have a great start to the fall season.